In my opinion, there's only one Aang figure to beat all Aang figures out there, and it happens to be a budget figure. Let's see why. Welcome to Running on Empty. This is the Aang and Momo Super Figure Collection figure made by Abby Style Studios. At about $52 USD, it's the cheapest Aang figure I've found with the most perfect character sculpt and base. First, I'll tell you how I filtered out the other Aang figures. So, according to my figure collection, there's about 40 Aang figures in existence. I only want the ones that objectively look like the cartoon. So things like Pops, U2s, and Nendroids are out. Any figure that caricaturizes Aang is also out. Whatever the hell this is out too. Next, I only want Aang when he's not depicted in the avatar state. And why is that? Well, mostly my personal preference. All I want is Aang in his cute, cheerful state. I'm not a fan of articulated figures, so we'll get rid of those, and that leaves us with 6. 2 of the 6 are the same figure, but with different names by the same company, so overall we actually just have 5 figures here. Of these 5, 1 is my favorite, which I'll go through why later, but I'll quickly tell you why I eliminated the other 4. First, you have the Aang and Momo Definitive Edition by First 4 Figures at about $300. Next, you have the Aang Standard or Collector's Edition, also by First 4 Figures, and it'll cost you about $110. Then, we have the Aang and Momo by Dark Horse at about $318. Product photos make it seem like Aang and Momo's eyes are a bit wonky. I don't know, do you guys see that as well, or is it just me? I'll pause and say I eliminated these 3 figures because I know you can get a great Aang figure without paying hundreds of dollars in not just the figure itself, but also possible shipping costs, because these are statues and resin figures. Last is the Aang and Momo Q-Fig Max Elite figure by Quantum Mechanics, which is a diorama figure. It's not bad looking, but the product pictures make it seem like Aang's head is a little too big for his body, which isn't what I wanted. Like I said earlier, all I want is the figure to look like the cartoon came to life. Also, at 63 USD on Amazon, it's not a bad price, but why pay more for a figure that's just okay when you can pay less for an even better figure? Now, that brings us to my favorite. Again, this is the Aang and Momo SFC figure by Abby Style Studios. Immediately, great sculpt of the pose and clothing with great wrinkle detail, and they've even sculpted the tufts of Momo's ears. I think that's really cute. It's a great paint job, which is simple but effective, and I give them an A+ on nailing Aang and Momo's faces. This figure, out of all of the figures so far, looks like it's stepped right out of my TV, and I love that. I also love that the base is small, at about 7.5 by 7.5 centimeters. I also have to say, as far as bases go that I have seen on budget figures, this is the #1 base ever for me. The fact that it is so simple and they have also carved the elements on there is just so satisfying to me. This is what a simple budget figure base should look like. Make it so that it's a nod to the character or the show as a whole, which is what they've done here in one simple but highly effective way. This figure also has no removable parts, which makes it sturdy, so basically out of the box you just get Aang and Momo as one piece and you have the base as the second piece. The figure is also small at about 18 centimeters and light at about 80 grams, but I think that's okay because really it has such a presence for how small the figure is. It will stand out on your shelf, and the fact that it's small and light also means that you can put him on any shelf that you already have in your house. You don't have to go out and get special heavy-duty shelves to display him on. Everything about this figure is perfect. So I'll be bold and say, if you want an Aang figure, look no further and get this one. It is the best Aang figure whether you are a budget figure collector or you like to spend a little bit more money on figures.
I always say the only thing better than finding something you were looking for is finding something you weren't looking for at a great bargain.